Hello students. Hello students. Now we shall look at annual equivalent worth comparison. We'll also see one numerical. This is a part of management and economics subject, that is 18 ME 51. Also a part of energy and environment subject, that is 17 ME 562. That is module 2. So what is this equivalent annual worth? We have already seen present worth method as well as future worth method for comparisons of various projects. This is equivalent annual worth comparison. There are various alternatives for comparing the worthiness of a project. Equivalent annual worth EAW is one important method for comparing engineering alternatives. In an annual worth method, all the receipts and disbursements occurring over a period are converted into an equivalent uniform yearly amount. So every year when you have a project, you get some revenues, you have to make some expenditures. Okay, so receipts and disbursement over the life of the project, you will convert into one equivalent uniform yearly amount. EAW, equivalent annual worth, is a popular method because of year's profit and losses are taken into account. So it is like every year what is the income or receipts, disbursement, so what is the profits or what is the loss. A large number of engineering economic decisions are based on annual comparisons, and so the term equivalent uniform yearly amount is often used. So for large number of engineering economic decisions based on annual comparisons, this term is used. For example, cost accounting procedures, depreciation charges, tax calculations, etc. Okay, depreciation, just briefly I will tell you. Suppose you buy a bike paying 1 lakh rupees. So after 1 year, the value of the bike will not be 1 lakh, it will be somewhere lower than that, say some 80,000 rupees. So it gets depreciated every year. Okay, this is known as depreciation. Equivalent annual cost indicates that the equivalent value of negative cash flow for disbursement is greatly than the corresponding positive flow of receipts. Okay, one is you get receipts, means what are the inflows. Outflows are called as expenditures or disbursements. So when the expenditure is more and income is less, then it becomes more of a cost. The annual equivalent worth EAW can be computed by using the general formula. EAW is equal to like present worth at the interest rate I, 1 plus I into bracket 1 plus I raised to n divided by 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. So this is the formula for EAW, equivalent annual worth comparison. So here again you have what cash dominated, revenue dominated as well as cost dominated cash flow diagram. You can see the cash flow diagram which is shown here. So P is the initial investment, it is taken at the bottom because it is what we are spending now, investing now. And over the life of the project, say it is life is n years, so RJ is the net revenue. Net revenue means revenue minus expenditure for that particular year is called as net revenue for that particular year. S is the salvage value. Salvage value is scrap value. Suppose again I will give example, you take a bike for 1 lakh rupees now and use it for 15 years and then you want to sell it. So at that time the scrap value you may get some 5,000, 10,000 rupees. That is known as salvage value. At the end of the life of your bike, you have to scrap it. The first step is to find the net present worth of the cash flow diagram using the following expressions for any given interest rate I. So again here interest rate is very important. For the given interest rate I, present worth I is equal to minus P. Minus P because the initial principal I am investing now. So that is outflow, that is minus. Plus R. R is the net revenue for that particular year. R in R1 1 plus I raised to n plus R2 1 plus I raised to 2 plus Rj 1 plus I raised to j plus Rn 1 plus I raised to n plus S in bracket 1 plus I raised to n. In the above formula, the expenditure is assigned with a negative sign and the revenues are assigned with a positive sign. So whatever expenditure is outflows are there, they are negative, and whatever inflows are there or revenues, they are assigned as positive. In the second step, the annual equivalent revenue is computed using the following formula. So first you find out the present worth, and then using this formula, PW for the interest rate I 1 plus I raised to n into I divided by 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. So this is the formula which we are using to find out the EAW, where A bar P comma I comma N is called equivalent payment series capital recovery factor. See, please understand, A means annual series, na? What we get a equal payment series, that A, okay, and here P we know because we are invested initially, that is P, and I is the interest rate what we have taken into consideration, and N is the life of the period in years. If we have some more alternatives which are to be compared with this alternative, then the corresponding annual equivalent revenues are to be computed and compared. So you have 2-3 proposals, so you can find out this. For all these proposals, you find out the present worth, then you find out the equivalent annual worth, and then compare. Finally, the alternative with the maximum annual equivalent revenue should be selected as the best alternative. So if you have 2-3 alternatives, so the alternative which has got the positive and the highest value, that should be considered as the best alternative. One more is, we have seen revenue dominated, now we will see cash dominated EAW, equivalent annual worth. So you can see the cash flow diagram here. Here cash dominated means cost dominated means cash only is going, a lot of cost is involved, say something like safety devices which is statutory, mandatory by government, so you have to fix. Okay, now you can see the cash flow diagram here. Initial investment is P, it has got a life of n years, C1, C2, C3 to Cn, this is the cost. So P represents the initial investment, Cj is the net cost of operation and maintenance at the end of the jth year, and S is the salvage value at the end of the nth year. The first step is to find the net present worth of the cash flow diagram using the following relations at the interest rate I. So you can see here, then once you find out the present worth, this annual amount equivalent annual worth is equal to PW, that is present worth at the interest rate I, 1 plus I raised to n into I divided by 1 plus I raised to n minus 1. Okay, the formula is same both for revenue model as well as the cost based model, where A bar P comma I comma N is called the equal payment series capital recovery factor. So these are the two methods, like cost dominated and revenue dominated, for finding out equivalent annual worth comparison. So you will come to know what is the worth of the project annually for the life, say 10 years or 20 years, whatever life is there. So whatever worth is there, that should be positive and high. Again, let's see the conditions for computing this equivalent annual worth. So first we should know the service life of the project N. Then you should also know the interest rate I. Then you should estimate the cash inflows and cash outflows for the service period. Okay, and then comparisons are made with before tax cash flows. And see here, everything is only tangible, whatever we can see and calculate, not intangible things. Okay, so and for accepting the alternatives, EAW should be greater than 0, then accept the proposal. If EAW is less than 0, then reject the proposal, and if it is equal to 0, then remain indifferent. to the investment. So you can see again there is some numerical here. A person wants to buy a tractor. So there are two types of tractors, many types of tractors, but he has selected two here. So first cost is given here. Okay, then second cost also is given. So what is the annual operating cost, maintenance cost, labor cost is also given. Then replacement of tires at the end of so many years, that also given, because that comes under maintenance. And at the end finally the scrap value is also given. So life is given as 10 years. So now there are two proposals here. Okay, so which tractor you are going to buy? Okay, considering the interest rate here, interest rate is not given. You have to consider that interest rate, say 10% or 12%. Then you find out which is the best proposal.